Welcome back to Too Much Future, the show where we talk about the Fallout games. I'm Cameron.
Howdy, partners. It's me, Cowboy Michael.
Oh, Cowboy Michael?
Howdy, Cameron.
What? Your big hat.
Yeah, it's gotten even bigger since last time. I'm more hat than human now.
Your decorative boot.
The single one.
Your magnifying glass.
That I used to set fire to the prairies.
Your katana.
That I used to cut down the unfaithful.
Your Oculus Rift. Version 1?
That I used to play Minecraft.
Cool. That's a lot of items you got there, Cowboy Michael.
Yeah, cowboys have huge inventories.
Yeah, that's a big part of, Larry McMurtry wrote that. Larry McMurtry said, hey, y'all, when you sit down and write a cowboy story, you gotta make sure everybody knows that, they got huge inventories.
Every Louis L'Amour novel begins with a description of a loadout.
Well, right here you got this cowboy's daily carry. He's got, of course, the messenger bag with a micro flashlight in it, 2 SD cards for a Sony Vita, a PlayStation Vita. You got 1 meter of rope all rolled up. Tiddly widdly. You got 1 knife. You got 1 razor blade for shaving your face. You got 1 tin can full of beans. I'm reading from, I think this is called, The Sun Over the Cowboy's Eyes. This is Louis L'Amour, 1955.
It's actually called The Sun Over the Cowboy's Eyes?
Yeah, that's the name of it. Look,
Okay.
Dude wrote like 85 novels. You run out of titles, I think, eventually.
I suppose that's true.
You know, hold on really quick. I'm going to read some Louis L'Amour titles.
Okay.
Just let's see. Sackett's Land. The Walking Drum. The Daybreakers.
I like how some of these are like 50-50 on whether they're a zombie novel or a vampire novel or a western.
They keep going. Hondo, a novel. Haunted Mesa. Law of the Desert Born. Mustang Man. It's also a Stephen King novel.
Yeah.
Lonely on the Mountain. Ride the Dark Trail. Lando.
Oh. I can't believe he started out there. Yeah.
Yeah. Passing Through.
Every time people were saying it should have been a Lando film, they were missing the fact that Louis L'Amour wrote the Lando book 60 years ago or whatever.
Mm-hmm. The Broken Gun. The Lonely Men. Silver Canyon. The Burning Hills. The Iron Marshal. Half of these do sound like Forgotten Realms novels.
They do. Like, there's an interesting, like genre agnostic quality about a lot of them.
Mm-hmm. He knew how to do wide appeal.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you want to talk about Fallout now?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I got some more cowboy stuff cowboy-ish, I guess, adjacent stuff to talk about during the episode, so that can be our transition. It's a transition if you just say it out loud while you're recording.
Mm-hmm. Cowboy Adjacent is my tie-in novel, of course, to the Friday the 13th universe, but with cowboys.
Like in the earliest days of Camp Crystal Lake, in the waning days of the Silver Rush.
Oh, back then it was just a camp, you heard? just one cowboy with a shiny boot and a little bit of a fire right over. It was there that a boy began to murder teenagers.
We always talked about like slasher villains going into space, but what about the point in the franchise where they go backward in time to the Old West?
Well, that's Back to the Future, of course.
Yes.
Explains that there's only two directions you can go. You can go into the future with hover cars and things in that nature, or you can go into the Old West, and those are the two genre directions.
I was gonna say, and the other one is, of course, the Tremors franchise.
Yeah. Which goes on to Haunted Island.
Does it?
Sure.
Okay, yeah. I just knew that they had an Old West one, so...
No, I think the most recent one... Well, I didn't see the one after Jamie Kennedy was in it.
Oh my god.
Yes, if you're asking, Jamie Kennedy's in the Tremors films. I know you've all been wondering what he's up to. Well, he's been in the Tremors films. He was like a blogger. It was basically kind of like Kevin Smith's Tusk, except what if you were tracking down the Tremors guys?
I see.
Anyway, okay. Well, I've gotten way off track here. Off the trail.
Mosey on back.
Mosey on back through the canyon and down into the Navarone. All right. What'd you do? Because we did different stuff. I think I said at the end of the last episode that I have to go and deal with the Kings. Kings in the NCR are having some rough and tumble trouble. Rough and tumble trouble here in Freeside, and I got to deal with that. But that's been previewed a little bit based on what we've done so far. What did Lucky Nell go and end up doing? Because you did not do the same quest as I did for this episode.
Yeah, this is an interesting episode because I think it's the first time in Too Much Future History that we've actually really diverged because of how kind of this game is structured. Nell,
like two roads in a yellow wood. And it was the changeth that maketh upon for all the differentiations. Roberto Frost.
I can't believe Roberto Frost wrote that beautiful poem.
He did.
Moments before he crashed the space station. So, Lucky Nell, after last time, decided that she needed a little bit of a break. Wanted to kind of take a load off, maybe. So she went on back to the strip and wondered where she might have a more relaxing time than dealing with all of the gun nuts back at Nellis. And she noticed the Ultra Lux Hotel and Casino, which is called Ultra Lux, so you know that it's got some sort of lux in there, perhaps even luxury. And also, Yes Man had mentioned that we might want to check these people out because they're kind of creepy. Like all of the casinos on the strip, it is, run by kind of a gang. That is a faction is another way of thinking about it, but gang is really more accurate. A gang of people who are what were called in the beginning of the game, quote, reformed tribals. So when House wakes up and he kind of brings the strip under his control, he takes all of these essentially like raider gangs and he makes them agree to his contract to be on the strip and operate his casinos. And the Ultra Lux is run by the White Glove Society. And so I step into the Ultra Lux and immediately Yes Man is vindicated because these people are creepy and weird as hell. They all wear like formal wear and white China doll masks. So, yeah, like not your sort of everyday look. And they seem sort of inspired by the splicers from BioShock, which it becomes kind of more explicit later in ways that I'll get to. But the first thing that happens is I wander into the Ultra Lux, wondering if I can, maybe relax a little. And there's a guy, of course, at the front of the casino who's like, "Excuse me, miss, we need to take all of your guns." And I'm not wild about this idea, but, it happens. You can have my guns, I guess. So I hand over my guns, and I go poking around, and wouldn't you know it, like, one of the first things you see after this guy makes you give up all your weapons is a dude standing in front of the bar in front of you holding a damn gun. A shotgun, as a matter of fact. So I walk over to see what he's up to, and he's like a hired hand. It's like his name is like, I think like Gunderson Hired Hand or something. But he's standing behind this other dude in a cowboy hat. Both of these dudes are wearing cowboy hats, for the record. A guy named Heck Gunderson, who is a sort of just just a good old boy. That's how his presentation is. That's how he's voiced, and he explains that he's kind of upset here at the bar because well, a couple of reasons. One is his son is missing, and two, this is causing some problems with kind of the business deal that he's here to negotiate. So what I learn in short order is that Heck Gunderson, this guy, is a big Brahmin rancher from possibly the NCR proper, or possibly some sort of region in between. I didn't quite pick up that detail or write it in my notes, but what we do learn is that how he puts it is that it was easy to get land once the soldiers moved in. So he is a person who has benefited greatly from the NCR's expansion because, them annexing land has allowed him to take over enough, sort of acreage to raise what appears to be an incredible number of Brahmin cattle, bighorners, and things of that nature. And he's come into New Vegas to talk with the proprietors of the Ultralux, the White Glove Society, as part of some sort of negotiation with regard to him supplying them with meat, or maybe not supplying them. It's a little vague, and he seems to think that there's some complications that are happening there. And those get elucidated in a little bit, but right now he's kind of vague about it, because the real thing on his mind is the fact that his son, who came with him, has just up and disappeared. Gone away. And he thinks that he's just wandered off, but he's still very, very worried about him because, they're kind of, country folk, and they've come here to the big city. So, and he mentions that he tends to wander, his son. So I asked him a little bit about the White Glove Society, and he's also sort of weirded out by them, the fact that they wear these fancy clothes and wear masks. And he says the only ones he does business with are the couple who do not wear masks. So it's good to know that there are people with real faces somewhere here. And after I talk with him a little bit, I'm finally like, all right, I'll look for your son. I'll see if I can help you out with that. And so I set off on a quest called Beyond the Beef, where I am looking for Ted Gunderson, Heck's son. Are you familiar with this quest at all, Cameron?
No, and I'm only familiar with squashing the beef, so... Mm-hmm. No, I'm not. It is striking to me, though, that basically... what do you call it? Mr. House appeared and then turned Vegas into like a Batman in like Arkham City.
Yeah.
Where everyone's part of they're like all part of like a different Batman villain gang. Mm-hmm. He was like, finally, my dreams can come true. And you're the clown.
Right. Like, you're the clowns. Now. You're going to be Frank Sinatra's.
Yes, my action figures. But no, I don't know anything about this.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a kind of, I don't know if I would say famous or infamous quest, but it's a well-known quest in New Vegas because there's a lot of ways this can play out. And the way that I played through it this time is not a way that I played through it at all ever before. So I'm going to try to walk through sort of where I know it differentiates to give people a sense. The listeners a sense for kind of, what are other options here when that's kind of relevant. So what I do is I start poking around the Ultralux. I head down to the main kind of hotel area. There's a maitre d', a guy named Mortimer behind the desk. And do you remember way back in our Fallout 3 series? Do you remember Helmet from Rivet City?
Helmet from... Oh, yeah, with the... yes, I do. With the helicopter helmet.
Yeah, the dude, I think his name was like Michael McMaster or something. Mm-hmm. in Rivet City who has just like this. An NPC who wears like a helicopter helmet, and that helicopter helmet feels the model for it feels like scaled just slightly incorrectly to his head.
Mm-hmm.
Mortimer has that same thing going on, but with a silk top hat. So he has this big silk top hat on that is just like some small percentage too big to look proportionally right on him. He looks like a child wearing an adult's hat. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and I go over to talk to him. And of course, he's a fancy maitre d' in this very fancy hotel. So I have to stop for a moment and switch clothes because Lucky Nell realizes she's still wearing her Wasteland adventuring outfit. She puts on Benny's suit. So people know who they're dealing with.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Namely the person who killed Benny.
Just by the way, it's not Michael McMaster. I don't think. I was googling and trying to figure it out. Michael McMaster is one of the people who made Untitled Goose Game.
I knew that also, and I thought that that
Okay.
would be interesting if that were a synchronicity there.
Well, shout out to House and to Michael McMaster specifically. And I bet you look totally normal with a helicopter hat on.
Oh wait, his name is Seagrave Holmes, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I think that might be Seagrave Holmes. Yeah.
Which is because
Anyway.
that's just a bonkers name.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, so the I talked to him. I learn a little bit about the White Glove Society. He talks about how they have a very good pedigree. That's the term that he uses, is pedigree. But he also says that he would be lying if he acted like it had always been so refined. Of course,
Mm-hmm.
alluding to whatever their past as kind of a wasteland raider gang was. But he also says that, you know, not everyone can have the finest clothes or the finest foods. It's just a fact of life. You know, the best things in life cannot go to everyone, so they should just go to the most tasteful, the most sophisticated, and the most deserving. Which, as a kind of ideological line or whatever, is fine, but not something Lucky Nell is totally on board with. It sounds kind of anti-luck, in her opinion. It sounds a lot
Mm-hmm.
like a meritocracy. And if there's one thing that a luck-based philosophy encourages you to understand, it's that there is no such thing as a meritocracy. No one deserves anything. But she heads off because he's not particularly helpful. He's not really talking to us about much of anything. There's another guy wandering around this lobby, a dude named Chauncey, who wears a very nice tuxedo, but he doesn't wear a mask. And so when you talk, it's unclear who he is or what he's up to. But when you talk to him, it turns out he is in fact part of the White Glove Society, and he forgot to put on his mask before he left the room. So you can talk to him and get a bit more information. He mentions that the society is led by a woman named Marjorie, who hangs out at the restaurant in the casino. It's called the Gourmand. And he sort of gives the White Glove Society philosophy or motto. He says that the rules that Marjorie has instituted is that if you are a member of the WSG, uh, you can. It is against your code of ethics to ever have anyone or to ever have anyone say that someone has dressed better than you. So there's that. You have to dress very, very well. And then the masks, well, he says the masks are probably just, Marjorie likes the sense of mystery and specialness that they impart. It's just kind of their gimmick. So,
Mm-hmm.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So that's interesting. And yeah, you can ask him like, well, why aren't you wearing your mask? And he was like, damn, I guess I forgot it. So, for all of this, for all that he can tell us, Chauncey does not seem to care very much about the dress code. I head over to the Gourmand then, and I meet Marjorie, who's working the kind of reception desk there. And I, talk to her about a couple things. Like, I don't come out with my investigation all of a sudden. I learn, first of all, that there's a head chef here, a cook named Philippe, who has somehow made Brahmin steak a delicacy. But the problem that the White Glove Society has, Marjorie tells me, is that if everyone can get Brahmin steak, then it becomes a staple. And she's like, and then, we might as well be running a diner or a family restaurant. So it seems like actually what is happening is that Gunderson is in a position to provide Brahmin meat to the Strip, or maybe even, kind of the Mojave at large, and the White Glove Society does not want that to happen. So they're trying to maybe argue him down from that position or make him an exclusive supplier to them, or something along these lines. But I ask her, I learn about some of that, and then I ask her about the fact that I'm investigating a missing person, and she says, "This again? I already told the investor all that I knew, or the investigator all that I knew." That's interesting. And then she says, I said it before and I'll say it again. The White Glove Society has consumed, or no human flesh has been consumed for any reason. We don't do that. It's in the charter. So she just volunteers that. And I can ask her, wait a minute, human flesh? And she explains that, back in the pre-house days, they weren't called the White Glove Society. They were called something else. She doesn't tell us what, and no one ever does. But there something was up with the group that became the White Gloves. And she says that that's changed. We don't really have to talk about it too much because they've, quote, evolved past such base impulses. So, here's kind of something we've gestured at a couple times throughout this show, the kind of like civilizational progressional logic that is kind of core in terms of how Fallout imagines not only the post-apocalypse, but just how society works. That there's kind of like a way to evolve. Here we have the characters literally putting that forward, saying, we had some sort of like horrible base past, but we've evolved beyond that. And it's no longer relevant. We no longer eat human flesh because that is clearly something we used to do. I then have the option to lie to her and say, no, it's cool. I eat people too, so you can talk to me about this. She's very, very offended. And I talked to her a little bit more. She says that the investigator was looking not for the person I'm looking for, but a missing bride who disappeared from the hotel just before her wedding. And she says it's very obvious what happened. The bride got cold feet and ran off. And yeah, maybe that sounds plausible.
They eat this bride.
What was that?
They eat this girl.
I'm investigating, man. So she tells me to go talk to Mortimer because I say I want to talk to the investigator. And she's go talk to Mortimer. He knows which room the investigator is staying in. So I go back and I talk to Mortimer. And he, tells me, oh, the investigator came through. I already told him everything. Why do you want to talk to him? And I said, well, I'm working on another investigation, and I just want to compare information with him. And he's like, okay, yeah. He tells me which room he's in. And then I have a lie plus a speech check with Mortimer where I can lie to him and tell him I am also a cannibal. Specifically, what I can say is that, like, I also know the craving, capital C. And it's also a speech check. I pass it, and Mortimer is like, oh, thank God. So here's the thing. We need to become cannibals again. The White Glove Society used to be cannibals, but I think we really need to become cannibals again. Marjorie will not see me eye to eye on this, but I need someone for our special banquet. And then I can ask the question, or like, we have someone for the special banquet or something like that. And he says that, well, we've made a mistake in that we have a main course that has a powerful and temperamental father. And then my response can be, it's a person, as if I'm surprised because I just told him that I was a cannibal and he was relieved. But anyway, he explains that they actually had some rich guy's son, someone no one would care about, and they were going to kill him and prepare him as part of the banquet, but he escaped. So then he told his underlings, Mortimer did, to get someone else. And it turns out they made a mistake and they kidnapped Ted Gunderson while his father was here on business. And now they're in kind of this really awkward position because Gunderson is famous for being very temperamental, for being very retributive, and he has the power to do these things. He is, the biggest cattle baron, I guess, out here, and so now they need to figure out what they're going to do. So I say, well, all right, I'll go check out that investigator. Talk to you later, Mortimer. I head up to the investigator's room. I open it up. I open up the door to his room. He's lying dead on the floor. Uh-oh. I walk up to him and I get, the weird or wild wasteland trait or perk or whatever it's called. The investigator's name is Crusoe, and he looks like David Caruso from CSI Miami.
What?
It's funny because the Fallout wiki, I wanted to look up and see what they said about this. Under the trivia for this quest, they're like, if you have this, the weird wasteland perk, the investigator is named Crusoe because of Robinson Crusoe, a novel where a man meets some cannibals, which is true, but they don't mention the fact that he is clearly modeled off of David Caruso from CSI Miami. Like, he's got the red hair and the sunglasses. Folks, if you don't remember this stage in the internet, kind of from 2010 or so, the thing that people would do is they would go through the opening episodes of CSI Miami and the cold opens and supercut all of the parts where David Caruso's character gets to deliver a pun about the murder before he slams on his sunglasses, and then the opening notes of a Who song starts playing. So that's what... Yeah! Yes. So that's what's being referenced here. But he's dead. That's a problem. And the second I discover him, 2 White Glove Society guys show up behind me, and they fight with canes. And when they fight you, they like jump up in the air and they swing their canes down, and the animation looks almost identical to the ways that the splicers in the BioShock games who use melee weapons will jump up in the air and like slam their wrench down on you or whatever. It seems like a very deliberate evocation of that for whatever reason. I die because you'll remember that I gave up all of my weapons and I didn't have an option for holdout weapons.
Mm-hmm.
So I die and I respawn and I think, okay, obviously what I need here are some holdout weapons. I go back out onto the strip. I track down Mr. Holdout, who we've mentioned before, the guy who will sell you holdout weapons. He will not sell anything to me because my reputation is too good.
Oh.
Yeah, he refuses to do business with me because I guess I have like my karma's too high and like my reputation is too good. So now I'm in a quandary as Lucky Nell. I can either go out and I can look up water weapons that are going to be automatically marked as holdouts, go out into the wasteland, find whatever merchant might be selling these things, and buy one. Or I can try kind of a different route. Because here's the other thing is like, in general, I'm not hot on the White Glove Society and kind of their anti-luck philosophy. But also cannibalism, I can't really square that with gambling and luck. Like, I just don't know how to work it through. Neither does Lucky Nell.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, it's unlucky to be eaten, probably, but I don't know. I can't work it out into my larger scheme of things. So I decided to do something a little different, and it's worth saying here that this ended up being my playthrough. I did not expect it to be my playthrough because I expected it to break, but it did not. So I returned to the Ultralux. I step in, the guy at the front says, please hand over all your weapons, and I tell him to blow it at his ass, and then I pull out my gun and I start shooting him. And then all of the White Glove Society people there in the bar start attacking me, and I just effortlessly shoot them all down with my gun, just like obliterate them. They do not stand a chance against me. I just walk into this bar and start a shootout. Funnily enough, I expected this to cause huge problems. After I kill all of the White Glove Society members in this room, no one else cares. They just continue sitting at the bar or, like, gambling. So I walk into the back room expecting more attacks. Does not happen. Go up to the investigator's room, open the door, find his body, am immediately attacked by those two guys, whip around, shoot them, destroy them. Now I think it might be time to lay a little low, so I steal one of the White Glove Society outfits from one of the corpses, and I put this on because if you're wearing a faction's outfit, they will not recognize you, and they will just treat you as part of their faction.
Mm-hmm.
And also, it goes without saying also that the White Glove Society, my reputation with them is just plummeting every time I murder one of them. But like, not even Mortimer behind the front desk attacks me after I like shoot everyone in the front room. I just walk right by him. He doesn't care. I check the body of the investigator. He has a matchbook. The matchbook tells me, it says that he has a meeting with someone in the steam room in like the bathhouse part of the casino at 4 p.m. So I head over to that area and I sit down on a bench and I wait until 4 p.m. And I see someone familiar come walking by. It's Chauncey. And he goes into the steam room. I follow him in, close the door behind us, and he is waiting at the very back, and he is surprised to see me. He also doesn't recognize me. He thinks I'm there to kill him, probably because I'm, wearing a White Glove Society outfit. But I'm like, no, I'm undercover. And he explains that he was going to meet with this investigator because he got sort of tied up in this weird resurgence of cannibalism within the White Glove Society. Basically, what happened is a bunch of the members decided that they wanted to, well, they started holding secret meetings away from Marjorie. And Chauncey says that he went to them because he thought that they were going to have like discussions about restructuring. I think what he says specifically is their politics. Yeah, he says it turned out to be kind of like a we need to return to the old ways movement. But he said that he went to the initial meeting because he thought it was about changing our politics. Like, that is what he says.
I'm restructuring my politics over here.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing that I forgot to say is that when I tell him that the investigator is dead, his response is, "Oh my goodness me." So, anyway, it turns out that this is like, we need to go back to cannibalism kind of group. And Chauncey kind of got wrapped up in distracting the husband of the bride who was kidnapped and eaten. As it turns out, Mortimer and kind of his crew at first started just abducting people from outside of the strip and killing and eating them in secret. And then they slowly escalated to finally taking people out of the hotel itself. And now they've really, screwed the pooch. But everything is riding on the line because Mortimer has devised this plan. The entire White Glove Society has like a special members only section for the people who are only, true members of the faction and the classiest and whatever. And they have a banquet every day at 7 p.m. And Mortimer's plan is to serve everyone human meat and then reveal what they have done, at which point they will have no choice but to all become cannibals again. And you can point out to Chauncey that this does not seem to make a whole lot of sense. And Chauncey is just kind of like, it makes sense to him. Like, this is what Mortimer thinks is going to happen. So that's what he's trying to make happen. Mm-hmm. Well, this is obviously bad. And Chauncey lays out a couple of things we can do now. He says that there's going to be a wine sampling before the banquet. So it's possible that we could drug the wine. And that would give us enough time to rescue Ted and get him out of the casino. The problem with this is that it doesn't really expose Mortimer and kind of his little cell's plot. So the other thing that we could do is trick Mortimer, allow him to think that his plan has succeeded by serving something that is not human meat, but tastes like it. And the cook of the White Glove Society, Philippe, has been working on a recipe to replicate the taste of human meat, apparently for years. So if we could somehow get a hold of that, we could trick everyone and then have Mortimer think that he's served human meat, but then reveal what he's actually done, and then he would be, kicked out of the White Glove Society or what have you.
What is it? It's Guinness that does that?
Guinness.
Not the human meat, not the human meat part, but the because they used to use river water or whatever, and it was full of dead rats.
Oh yeah.
And so obviously they don't use that kind of thing, but there's like flavors that are put into Guinness to make it have the same river water flavor that it used to have. And that's like part of like the vibe of Guinness period. So same idea.
Yeah,
human meat, rat, liquid rat, all the same.
Liquid Rat. That's a good band name. So Chauncey lays all this out for me, and then an assassin shows up behind me and shoots him. So Chauncey's dead. I kill the assassin. And at this point, this quest can go in a couple of different ways. I can do the thing where I drug the wine, and then everyone is comatose, and I can sneak Ted out. I can do the thing where I set up this whole elaborate ruse of like serving fake human meat and then letting Mortimer kind of reveal himself and then getting kicked out. And then, of course, I can also side with Mortimer and his kind of group and somehow force all of the White Glove Society people back into thinking cannibalism rules. That sounds like a whole lot of work for something that just does not seem terribly like luck adjacent. We're already kind of playing fast and loose. So Nell decides to see if Luck is going to continue to sort of side with her on this issue. I just head to the kitchen, find out the door is locked, turn around behind me. There's a bartender. I try to pickpocket the kitchen key off of him. Doesn't work, but he hostiles me, so I shoot him. And then another person attacks, and I shoot them, and some other people attack, and I shoot them. All these White Glove people. I just kill them all. Then I get into the kitchen, and the kitchen is again very BioShocky. It's got like that tiled like texture set that we see in a lot of areas in this game. It was used in Underneath the Lighthouse in the Point Lookout DLC for Fallout 3, which was another kind of like big like let's do a bunch of BioShock references kind of section. There are some White Glove people down here with flamers like charring meat. They attack me, kill them. Just, making my way down. Me, Boone, and Eddie, actually. We're just, laying waste. And we go through all of these rooms, and eventually I make my way into the kitchen where there is Philippe. And he has no time for me. He thinks that I'm just, like, wait staff or something. So I talk with him, and I'm like, well, actually, I'm an honorary member of the White Glove Society because Chauncey said that he would sponsor me as an honorary member, and that might be a way for me to get into the members-only back room before he, died. So I say, well, I'm an honorary member. And this makes Philippe a little more on my side. And then I tell him, I was over in the pantry and I saw a rad roach. And he could not have a rad roach in his pantry, so he runs across the room to the pantry, and I have already seen, of course, that there is a computer terminal outside, and I walk over and I open up that computer terminal, and I lock him in the pantry. Then I go to the other side of the room where there is another door with a terminal. I hack this one, open up the door. There's Ted Gunderson. He thinks I'm going to kill him because I'm dressed like a White Glove Society person, and I tell him, no, I'm here to rescue you. One of the other things Chauncey told me is that when I rescued Ted, I should probably make sure that no one could see him following me out because, who knows who is on Mortimer's side and the White Glove Society would attack me. We're far beyond that at this point. So I just have Ted follow me out into the members only section. Everyone's getting ready for that banquet. But I just, shoot the bouncer at the door because they start attacking me. One of the other things is that bouncer characters who are marked as bouncers, even when you're wearing faction outfits, can always see through the disguise. So I guess no one else can tell that I am in disguise, but this bouncer can, and I kill them. And then I just take Ted back to the front of the hotel, or front of the casino rather, and I reunite him with his father. And his dad's like, dang, I'm so glad you're back and you're safe. What the hell happened? And Ted is like, it was the White Glove Society. They were gonna kill me and eat me. And Heck is, not totally happy about this. In fact, he is maybe extremely upset. He is so upset, in fact, that he says that he is going to not only not supply beef to the Ultralux, he is going to blockade all of the strip and potentially kind of like all of New Vegas. Like there will be no Brahmin meat coming in. Now, here's where Nell realizes her kind of fast and loose play style has maybe backfired a little bit. Because while she does love luck and gambling, there is no greater personification of that than the strip itself. Nell loves the strip. She wants the strip to prosper, and that's not going to happen if they're being blockaded by the most powerful Brahmin Baron. So she gets a speech check that I pass that's just saying, like, don't you realize that by blockading them, you're just like forcing them, you're giving them what they want, because that's just going to make cannibalism all the more attractive. And Heck Gunderson decries kind of, the decadence of the strip and kind of the monument to inhumanity that is this big city place. But he agrees that he doesn't need to help anyone along. So he is not, in fact, going to blockade the strip. And in fact, so he says this city's hell-bent on depravity. I can't do anything about it, so I have stopped the White Glove Society from becoming cannibals, but also I have saved the strip from being starved, and then my reputation with the White Glove Society, which has been, I think at this point for a good long while, just totally vilified, pops back up to just the funniest little dialogue modal I've gotten. Not dialogue, but information modal I've gotten. It says, "Wild child, your seemingly capricious behavior leaves people scratching their heads in confusion and avoiding close contact." So that is my reputation standing with the White Glove Society. And with that, I complete this quest and my section of this episode, I guess.
Dang. That's a lot going on.
Yeah, it's a
big
very
quest.
It's a very big quest, a very sort of like talky quest, a lot of moving parts, and famously glitchy. A lot of things can break in this quest, and like certain paths can become inaccessible or what have you. So yeah, that's what happened here. I'm really pleased by the fact that the game recognized me playing hard against and then sort of backing off of the White Glove Society. I thought that was very funny.
So I talked to the little governor guy, the little ambassador, and he said, "Hey, I think I said this in the last episode." He says the Kings and the NCR they're having some issues in Freeside. You need to resolve those things. It seems like Pacer is causing all this violence, and you need to figure out some way to get around it, or resolve that. And I said, okay, well, what does that mean? And he says, well, there's probably two routes for you here. One of them is going and talking to the commander of the NCR troops that is kind of over near the Hoover Dam, and that person's probably going to go and just murder all the Kings. Or you can go to talk to Colonel Sue over at Camp McCarran, and he probably has a better way to go. And so I said, all right, I'm going to go talk to that guy. I go and talk to Colonel Sue. Colonel Sue says, well, here you go. You can probably, negotiate with the king and negotiate your way around Pacer. Say that we'll give them more water and supplies if they'll just tone the violence down. I go and talk to the king. The king says, oh, hey, it's a Rex. You got a new brain, buddy. And after he gets over that, he says, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I think we'll just do that. You give us supplies and water, and we'll tone the violence down. I'll control Pacer. Pacer, who is standing there, says, no way, and tries to shoot everybody. We kill Pacer. Yeah. The end. That's the end of the quest.
Wow.
Yeah, there's nothing. There's not really any different ways to go, I guess, other than the two broadest possible strokes of what I just said. There's the violent or non-violent option. I didn't even have I tried to talk to Pacer beforehand to see if I could get him to be cool. Nope, nothing. He wouldn't even go into dialogue with me. So that's it. That's the whole quest.
Interesting. So I know for a fact that there are other ways to go about this, but I'm wondering what you've done or what we've done for the show that's kind of like walked you out of them. Because I know there's one version of this where you can like you can poison Pacer. Uh,
Mm.
because you can find out that he is one he's an addict of some sort, right? He uses
Hmm.
chems, but also he has a weak heart, so you can like spike his stash. um I also know that there are versions there are sort of world states that you can end up in where the king is not as willing to just kind of like immediately go along with you, and so
Hmm.
I think that's part of it too. For instance, well, I know in these other sort of ways of accomplishing the quest, do you remember the Van Graffs that I talked about, the laser weapon dealers?
Hmm. Yeah.
You can like frame them for killing Pacer. So
Really?
yeah, because
He's I wonder if maybe I'm just locked out of certain stuff because like he would not even go into dialogue to like have any kind of route. I couldn't like even threaten him. So there
interesting.
must be something going on with kind of my game state there.
Yeah. No, so that's, I mean, it's interesting, I think. Both of the quests that we did for this episode, uh, I think have, on the one hand, this kind of very classic Fallout, Fallout 1, Fallout 2 especially. Here's a thing you need to do. Here are like three or four ways that it can be done, and they're all kind like none of them are equivalent. That's actually, I think, a good thing to pull out here is that in a Bethesda Fallout, there would be some there you would have three ways to do this, and all three of those ways would be I think designed in such a way that you feel like as the player you're accessing like the same amount of content or something. Does that seem fair?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That like there's nothing. It's all what do you call it? Like it's a blank slate when you start the quest
Hmm.
in the Bethesda imaginary.
Hmm. Yeah, and then here you can have all of these kind of different ways through these quests that can be like a kind of a long way around or just like a cut to a chase thing. And I think like I sort of did my cut to the chase version of Beyond the Beef, thinking that maybe there would be some more stuff going on with yours. So I'm glad that I double checked all of the routes through that. But that was the other thing that I thought was interesting is that in Fallout 2, doing what I did with Beyond the Beef would have just immediately hostiled everyone in that hotel. Like I would have had to just murder every single person.
Hmm.
And so that's not what happened. I somehow went through this hotel, shot a whole bunch of people up, and nevertheless, still kind of came out the other end with not everybody on the strip hating me. So there's a way in which, even as this kind of has a Fallout 2 style structure, it incorporates the kind of brute force approach in a way that a Fallout 2 would not have, and then in your case, kind of locked you into a brute force approach.
Yeah, yeah, I do, and it's like it was trivial too, right? It was just like,
Hmm.
oh yeah, I'll click these 5 enemies and they're done. So, yeah, not particularly exciting, but that's I think all we did for this episode.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the one who is like structuring out these episodes, so I'm sorry that you ended up with so little to do, but it's the nature of the beast, I guess.
Yeah, it's just how it works. I don't think that was a structuring problem. I think it was just I think there just must be some contexty stuff that happens there.
Hmm.
Um where yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Some it's stuff that's weird. Had plenty of other stuff to do for the next episode though. So we'll go ahead and lock this one up. We Michael, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me on twitter.com at Warren is dead.
You can go to twitter.com/rangedtouch to see everything that we're up to, and you can go to patreon.com/rangedtouch to support this show. If you don't want to listen to it on YouTube and you want to get access to an RSS feed, you can always go to that Patreon. Support us at $3 a month. You get access to an RSS feed for the show, as well as all kinds of other goodies for all the other shows we do, like Just King Things, where we read through the works of Stephen King in publication order, or Mages and Murder Dads, where we play through games in the Baldur's Gate lineage, or even perhaps a Homestuck show.
A Homestuck show?
Or Game Study Buddies, which is a show where we read through academic works of game studies and talk about them and make them kind of useful and interesting for people who maybe are not in the academic field of game studies. So we do all kinds of really cool stuff at Range Touch. If you like this show, I promise you're going to like the other ones. So you should go and check them out. By the time that this comes out, we will have a merch store that'll be live. You can go down to the description below this episode to buy some Ranged Touch gear. Which would be cool for you to do. If you don't want to support us on Patreon, or that's not into your, doesn't fit into your lifestyle in some sort of way, maybe buy a t-shirt. That'll help us out. And if you have things that you want us to make a t-shirt out of, let us know in the comments down below. Go ahead and leave a comment. Say, hey, make a t-shirt about this thing that I like from this show, and we'll think about it.
Yeah, what is T-shirt much future?
Wow. Should have been the name of the store. Huge mistake. Really big error there.
Yeah.
But okay, we'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode of Too Much Future. Michael, what's the catchphrase?
War never changes, but Fallout sure does.
Everything changed.